All right, boys and girls. Big old video today. This is going to be a serious one. Got a video on the skinny fat experience. That's right, the life cycle of a skinny fat lifter. Coming from a skinny fat background myself, this is going to be a fun video to make. I'll share with you the tips and tricks that I picked up along the way. It's been quite a long journey, takes a long time. But yeah, let's get right into the video, all right? So, from humble beginnings, your baseline as a skinny fat lifter, right? You have arguably the least favorable starting point of any of the somatotypes, right? So the somatotypes are like the ectomorph, which is like the skinny, really lean guy, right? Like super underweight. Then you have the big fat guy, right? Who has a lot of fat, but also like a lot of muscle, kind of. And then you got what is the mesomorph, I guess, which is like the guy that's like already jacked. So just forget about that. And then you get the skinny fat guy, right? So you have like the worst of both worlds of the skinny guy and the fat guy, where you have not enough muscle mass, not enough strength, but you also have a bunch of body fat. So if you'll see in a second the issues with that. So anyways, you have high body fat, low muscle mass, like I just said, both undesirable, right? We want to reverse that. And you have you could just have an unfavorable body fat distribution, but you probably have both, right? But some people have like a normal body fat percentage, let's say, but their body composition might not look as good. Like if they're a guy and they just store like all their fat on their midsection, and like their arms and legs might be like totally shredded or something, and their midsection just looks like flabby and nasty. That does happen. But anyways, so starting point here, the lies. The hero is led astray, right? If you go search through YouTube, there are tons of videos on, well, actually, there's not that many videos compared to everything else, but there are a decent amount of videos on being skinny fat and how you should fix it. And a lot of those, I think, are it's very clear that the person making the video has never been skinny fat. And a lot of it is just kind of like based off assumptions and data. So like one of the examples is like, a common thing is they'll say like, oh, well, you just stay at the same body weight and then you'll recomp over time. And the issue with that approach is that you have not enough muscle mass to get strong in the first place. You're too small. And if you're training and not recovering and not feeding yourself in order to recover from the hard training, then you're not putting on enough muscle mass to make a meaningful change in your body, right? So there's that issue. If you cut, that puts you in a worse situation because you get skinnier, and your body's going to hold on to most of the fat, and you're just going to get weaker and stay soft. And then if you bulk, then you just keep getting fatter, right? And you get stronger and all that. So basically, all roads lead to nowhere. And that's kind of true. Like, no matter what you do, you, in the short term, kind of end up almost in a, I wouldn't say they all put you in a worse position, but, you're not, neither single path from the get-go is going to get you significantly closer to your end goal. But anyways, the hero gains valuable experience through failure in this phase. Because through taking these different approaches, trying them out, you see why they don't work. Hopefully you just watch this video, you get to skip all that. But, if you're like me, you've gone through all those different trials and tribulations, right? And you kind of see where the pitfalls are, why they don't work out that well. But you also gain experience in things like, tracking calories, paying attention to your nutrition. You probably get into training a little bit, you kind of know a little bit about how your body responds to training, that sort of thing, right? One thing I should also mention from up here, you probably don't have very good genetics if you're skinny fat to begin with. So probably like training is not going to come that easy to you. It's not going to be easy to put on muscle. It's not going to be like effortless to just get really strong and like lose body fat and all those different things. So you're going to have to work hard at every step of the process here. And that's why it takes so long to get through all this. But yeah, next step. Truth. The Sigma grind set arc, all right? Now we're getting somewhere, right? This is where things get fun. Things are looking up. So, in here, as is the theme in all of these videos, everything nutrition related that I do, training is key. Your strength has to go up, right? So, best place to start, if you're a novice, is with the novice linear progression. And chances are, if you're still in this like early skinny fat phase, you're definitely a novice. Right? Even if you've tried your hand at this stuff before and you've kind of made a little bit of progress, you probably still can milk a good bit of novice gains by doing things the way that I laid out here. But yeah, training is key. Strength has to increase, right? And so to tie the nutrition in with that, your nutrition has to facilitate recovery from training, right? So if you're training really hard and pushing a bunch of heavy weight, you got to eat a lot of calories so you can recover from that. If you don't eat enough, you wind up, like where I said before, you'll just kind of stay at the same body weight, not really get that much stronger. It's going to take forever. It's going to be a very, very tedious process. You're going to lose motivation and you're going to quit. And that's not what we want, right? All right. So from here, if we know that all three paths, right, cutting, maintaining, bulking, they all put us in a terrible situation, right? But we got to choose one. We got to go some direction. So there's no cheeky way out of this. There's no like trick. There's no aha moment. Like you just have to pick one of those, right? So the best option to begin with is the weight gain, right? Going into the bloat lord arc, hail Lord Grizzly. We're going to gain some weight here. We're going to get even fatter than we already are. That is the fastest point from point A to point B in the long term, right? And that is because your nutrition will facilitate your recovery from training while your training is able to give you rapid progress in the gym, right? So if you're a novice, let's say you're like 5'7", you weigh like, let's say you weigh between like 150 and 180 or something like that, you're pretty untrained. You're squatting like 3 sets of 5 at between 135 and 185 or something like that, right? At this point, you're going to gain some weight. You're going to get your squat from 3x5 at 135 to 185 to 3x5 at like 275 to 315, or ideally above that, but that's probably where you're going to wind up. Because like I said, you're not that genetically gifted. You don't have as much runway to gain weight as a skinny guy, because you still have to be conscious of not becoming obese. So, you know, you're going to have kind of a, not as long of a novice phase as a really, really skinny guy, but perhaps a bit longer than the super fat guy. It might be around the same amount of time, because the super fat guy is going to eat less during his novice phase, but he also has more muscle and more tissue to begin with. So you kind of have a lot of fat and not a lot of tissue, so you kind of have to like almost push yourself closer to obese, but not quite obese. It sounds very fun. It is. But yeah, so you're going to prolong the novice phase by eating, right? But you got to kind of walk the razor's edge here and keep the rate of gain moderate. So in my bulking video, I kind of talked about this. You're probably looking to gain like 1 to 2 pounds per week. You don't want to be gaining like 3 to 4 and beyond, because that's for the really, really skinny guy. And you're just going to like get even fatter, even faster if you do that. So a moderate rate of gain, right? Just so you keep pace with your training. A general rule that I like to abide by is like when things get tough, try to gain like a pound per 5 pounds on your squat, right? So let's say you get to like 225, for example, and you're weighing like 180 at this point, and you're gonna, let's say you gain 20 more pounds up to 200, right? So you want to gain, and you're adding weight to your squat once per week, let's say, so 5 pounds per week. So 5 pounds per week over 20 weeks gives you 100 pounds on your squat, right? So you're going to wind up at 325 for the squat, which is pretty, you know, for going from 180 to 200 body weight and getting your squat from 225 to 325, that is a desirable trade that you should take, even if you're going to get a little bit better in the process. That's going to send you in the right direction, right? So you got to do that. Priority number one, right? Strength has to go up. Training is key. So you got to get strong first. Makes everything easier. And also in doing that, you're going to gain valuable data about how much calories or how many calories you need to eat per day, what that does to your body. You know how many to eat to gain weight. You know how many to eat to maintain weight. Valuable information for later. You're learning, you're getting in the habit of training, right? You're learning all kinds of things about the lifts. You're getting in the habit of eating a certain way, eating a lot of protein, right? All good things, all good things. So by this point, you're developing your skills. You're getting strong, right? And you kind of reach the end of that, and now we have the moral dilemma phase of the movie here, which is, do we cut or do we maintain? And there's kind of not really a right or wrong answer, because now, as an intermediate trainee, if you guys have listened to the programming lecture from Starting Strength, you know that at this point it depends and it doesn't matter. So, you know, it's kind of up to what your goals are here. My personal recommendation for most people, you should probably maintain at this point, because if you're, the stipulation is that you're an intermediate trainee by this point, right? So you're either at once a week, you're probably near the end of that by this point. So you're probably about to transition into like bi-weekly every 3 weeks. And then that's going to run down to advanced rather quickly. So at this point, I recommend maintaining for a little while, running that out, even adding weight. Well, so you're probably going to add weight 5 pounds every other week, for example. Let's stick with the squat here, right? If you're doing that, that's still very fast progress. That's like 10 to 15 pounds a month. So you're going to want to allow that to continue in the meantime. So maintaining body weight is going to allow you to do that. And then by maintaining body weight, allowing your squat to run up, you're going to gain muscle, you're going to lose fat. Your body composition is going to start to improve a little more in the sense that you're going to keep putting on muscle at a much slower rate at this point, but you're also going to start losing body fat at a very slow rate, which is good. So you're kind of creeping in the right direction, right? If you cut right away, the positive to that is that you are going to lose a bunch of body fat very quickly, depending on how aggressively you cut. But you're also not going to gain strength as quickly, and you may not gain it at all if you kind of like mess up the cut or if you're not being supervised by a coach. That takes a lot of nuance, to get the cut just right, so that you're still gaining strength, and the programming has to be just right for that as well, so that you can gain strength while losing a good amount of body fat. But it can be done if you do it right. But I recommend maintaining a bit longer because your progress is going to slow down anyways. So you may as well wait until your progress is already really slow. Then you're not missing out on easy gains, and then you can just focus on cutting all you want. That's my personal recommendation. But there are no solutions, only trade-offs. So, it's kind of at this point, it's like, would you rather just be lean quicker? Or would you rather, stick it out a bit longer, be a bit uncomfortable with your body for a little bit, but probably have a better long-term outcome, right? And then also, I should add, piggybacking off my cutting video, if you watch that, if there is an immediate risk to your health at this stage, right? So let's say you're an older skinny fat guy. If you're like in your 20s or probably even early 30s, you probably don't have to worry about this. But if you're like a little older, maybe you're like in your early 40s or something like that, and then you kind of, get to the end of the bloat phase, right? And then you kind of get blood work done and like your A1C is getting really high, you're pre-diabetic, and you kind of have some concerns at that point, then you might want to go into a cut right away. Don't panic and just like crash cut and like mess up your training a bunch, right? Like I said, you still have to train properly. You still should get stronger through that initial cutting phase if you're doing things the right way, as I talked about in the cutting video, so go watch that if you're interested in that. But yeah, all this to say, training must remain at the forefront. We already knew that, right? That is your vessel for body composition, as I've hammered home in the nutrition video and all videos so far. So training must be at the forefront, as always, right? The more you train, the stronger you get, better your body composition. Simple as that. And so you're basically just deciding between, do I want worse performance in the gym and more body fat lost, or do I want to keep my performance kind of high because I really like training and I want to keep going for a little longer, right? All right, anyways, happy ending. Our lifter now, our skinny fat lifter, has transitioned out of the skinny fat phase. He's now based and red pilled with Tradwife, as you can see. Good habits have been established at this point, like I was saying. So now you know how to gain weight. You know how many calories you need to eat. You have a lot of experience with it by this point. You have trained a lot. You're good at the lifts. You've gotten pretty strong. You have practiced maintaining and or cutting as well. So you have like experience all across the spectrum, and you're like a training and nutrition Jedi at this point. So very good things. Like the journey was long and difficult, very arduous, but it was worth the journey. You're now reaping the fruits of your labor, right? And you can pass it on to others as well. And at this point, different skill trees may be explored, as you can see. So like by this point, since you've already gotten strong, you've already gone through a good bit of training, you've already gone through bulking, you've gone through cutting, you've maintained, and now you're just kind of, maintaining your excellent physique that you built through this long process. Now you can kind of, you've earned the right to go ahead and, let's say you want to try like a different sport, or you want to do like, let's say you've even got lean enough that like now you're going to do like a proper advanced person bulk, like I talked about in that other video, the bulking video, right? You can do that. You can transition into like, doing silly hypertrophy training, which you should not have done earlier in the process. I know a lot of you are going to, get to the end of your bulking phase and then like panic and then transition into like, oh, I'm going to do hypertrophy now. And then you're going to do it wrong and you're going to lose all your progress and kind of slide backwards and have to do the same thing again. So at this point now that you're at a reasonable body composition, now you can explore that. Now you can try some hypertrophy stuff, do some Andy Baker templates, that sort of thing. But yeah, so all in, this is like a 2 to 5 year process for most guys, right? It takes a long time. that is the sad reality of it. Nothing you can do about that. But if you do follow through and go through this entire process, you basically can accomplish anything, right? The world is your oyster. You've basically taken on and conquered all the challenges that like every lifter from every different side of the spectrum faces, right? So you've done the skinny guy thing where you had to gain weight, you had to get your strength up, you had to get uncomfortable with your body, and then you had to do the fat guy thing where you had to eat not enough to shed down the body fat and then still train to get stronger, and deal with all the psychological and physical changes that come with that, right? So that's basically it. This is the whole thing in a nutshell. Yeah, you start from skinny fat, you do your bulk first, then you either maintain for a little bit or cut after, but you basically line those up with the phases of training that I outlined, right? So novice phase, you're going to bulk. Intermediate phase, ideally you're going to maintain. And then towards the end of the intermediate phase into the advanced phase, then you can kind of start cutting, right? And then you'll wind up where you need to be. So that whole thing, if you do it properly, is going to take about 2 to 5 years. All right. So hope you guys enjoyed this video. I had fun making it. If you enjoyed it, say something in the comments. Ask me some questions. I'm happy to answer. But yeah, that's about it. I'll see you guys later.